if you have anything, come out as fast as possible and get it to any detachment or any police service that you have available to get to talk to. And Jack just
Yesterday marked 4 months since Jack and Lily Sullivan vanished from their Pictou County home in Nova Scotia. 4 months of searches. 4 months of questions. And 4 months without answers. Despite newly released court documents, the mystery hasn't become simpler, it's only grown more complicated. Tonight, we'll examine those documents, comparing the parents' accounts with what the RCMP has confirmed. As the narrator speaks, the screen opens with a sweeping drone shot of the mist-covered Nova Scotia woods at sunrise, the trees stretching endlessly into the distance, quiet and haunting. The camera cuts to a rural dirt road, where a lone police cruiser sits parked in silence, its lights off, a symbol of watchful waiting. The image shifts to missing posters tacked to a community bulletin board, their edges curled and weathered from rain, the smiling faces of Jack and Lily frozen in time. A candlelight vigil fades onto the screen, dozens of hands holding glowing candles against the night sky, with teddy bears, flowers, and handwritten notes left in remembrance. Newspaper headlines flash across the screen: Sullivan children missing without a trace, community rallies in search efforts, new documents released, more questions than answers. The scene transitions into search efforts, volunteers in reflective vests combing through muddy fields and thick brush, their expressions tense and determined. Finally, the camera lingers on a single candle flickering in the wind, its flame struggling to survive, before the screen cuts to black, leaving a heavy silence for just a moment. The documents released to Canadian media have raised eyebrows. Some sections appear strangely unprofessional, almost as though they were written by a child. Could this reflect poorly on the RCMP's investigation, or is it simply poor transcription? Either way, the files are real. Obtained after a legal battle by the press. Visuals: close-ups of redacted RCMP files, highlighted lines of clumsy writing, journalists leaving court with documents. Lily Sullivan stated that Jack and Lily went to bed late that night, around 9 p.m. instead of their usual 7. She said they watched television before being tucked in. But earlier, Daniel claimed the children were playing outside until after dark. This contradiction raises new questions. As these words are spoken, the screen shows a soft, moody reenactment, 2 small children running across a backyard as the last traces of daylight fade, their laughter echoing faintly against the still evening air. The scene slowly dissolves into the interior of a dim living room, where the glow of a television flickers across the walls. The children are seen curled up on the couch, the sound muted, the atmosphere strangely heavy. The camera lingers on their faces, innocent and unaware, before pulling back into darkness. Among the details in the files was a description of Lily's clothing and belongings: pink pajamas, a Barbie top, and her small backpack. Reports also reference a pink blanket, though its significance remains unclear. Was it comfort, or a critical piece of evidence? The visuals unfold softly, beginning with a close, delicate shot of a child's bed. A small pink blanket rests neatly on the sheets, captured in shallow focus, the fabric slightly crumpled as though recently held. The screen slowly fades into a stark contrast, RCMP investigators moving carefully through a wooded area, orange evidence markers standing out against damp earth and scattered leaves. The camera lingers on one marker beside a piece of pink fabric partially hidden under the brush, the atmosphere heavy with unanswered questions, before fading to black. Malaya told investigators she was too tired to clean that evening. Daniel, however, claimed he stayed up to do it. Yet the house, when searched, appeared in disarray. Were they really cleaning, or covering something up? Neighbors reported hearing unusual noises late into the night, sounds consistent with paranoia and erratic behavior. The film cuts to a slow, creeping shot of the Sullivan home at night. The house sits isolated against the dark Nova Scotia woods, its windows dim, shadows pooling around the edges. A faint glow of a single lamp flickers through the curtains, as if someone is still awake inside. The camera glides closer, building tension. Inside, the reenactment begins. A cluttered kitchen comes into view, unwashed dishes stacked high, toys scattered across the floor, laundry piled in corners. The lens drifts slowly across the mess, pausing on small details. A child's crayon drawing taped to the fridge, a half-empty bottle of beer on the counter, a garbage bag half-filled but never taken outside. Malaya is shown sitting heavily on the couch, eyes tired, staring blankly at the television's glow. In the reenactment, Daniel moves restlessly through the house, pacing with a trash bag in hand. His movements are sharp and jittery, his face tense, his eyes darting toward the windows as if afraid of being watched. He picks up toys, drops them, wipes a counter only to leave streaks, all while glancing over his shoulder. The cleaning looks less like tidying up, and more like frantic, nervous activity. The narration pauses, allowing the visuals to take over. A soft, unsettling soundscape builds, the rustle of trash bags, the squeak of a faucet, the low hum of a refrigerator. Each sound is heightened, exaggerated, making ordinary domestic noises feel menacing. The film then shifts to the neighbor's perspective. In shadowed reenactments, windows from nearby houses are shown. A neighbor looks out suspiciously into the night, the glow from the Sullivan house flickering oddly. Subtle audio overlays, muffled thumps, hurried footsteps, a door opening and slamming shut. The sound grows stranger, indistinct whispers, then louder noises that resemble shouting or furniture being dragged. A neighbor's statement appears in white text over black screen. It was late. We kept hearing things, banging, voices. It didn't sound right. Their words are read aloud in a hushed voice, layered with the eerie ambient track. The visuals return inside the house. The reenactment slows, showing Daniel scrubbing at a spot on the floor with unnecessary force, sweat beading on his forehead. Malaya remains slumped on the couch, unresponsive, almost dissociated. The house is shown in fragmented cuts. The bathroom sink running, the washing machine spinning, a trash bag tied tight. But the mess only grows, evidence of disorder, not cleanliness. To deepen the sense of paranoia, the scene begins to fracture visually. Quick cuts show Daniel peeking through blinds, flicking lights on and off, pacing between rooms. A low, distorted hum rises in the soundtrack, echoing his restless state of mind. The camera then shifts outdoors again. From the street, the Sullivan house looks unsettlingly ordinary, lit only by a faint yellow lamp. But faint sounds still leak into the night. The audio design blends the noise of shuffling with the low cry of wind, creating uncertainty. Is it the house creaking or something darker happening inside? The narration returns, sharp and questioning. Were they really cleaning, or covering something up? The next visual builds suspicion. RCMP photographs of the interior are shown, cluttered rooms, scattered objects, nothing resembling a freshly cleaned home. The contrast between the parents' statements and what investigators found plays heavily on screen. On one side, Malaya's claim of exhaustion, on the other, Daniel's insistence on late-night cleaning. Yet the evidence points to neither. The scene stretches with interview clips, reenacted, of neighbors recalling strange noises, footsteps pacing, muffled voices, and what some described as furniture moving. Each account is layered with visual reconstructions of shadows moving behind curtains, lights turning off and on, the sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor. The camera finally lingers on the Sullivan home once more, framed from a wide, empty street at 2 a.m. The windows are now dark. Silence hangs heavy over the neighborhood. Yet the unease remains, as though the house itself holds secrets still buried in the walls. The music fades into a low, haunting drone, leaving the viewer unsettled as the scene prepares to shift to the next chapter of contradictions. Despite the contradictions, both parents passed their polygraph tests. The RCMP searched extensively across woods, rivers, and properties, though they controversially allowed the family to remain in the home during the first night. Officially, police say there is no sign of stranger abduction. Yet, the children did not simply walk away. The screen opens with stark black and white photographs of polygraph machines, wires, and monitors. A close-up shows a paper scroll with jagged pen marks, its lines twitching up and down as though holding secrets just beneath the surface. The camera lingers on the machine's blinking lights before fading to wide drone shots of the Nova Scotia wilderness, vast stretches of forest, thick undergrowth, and winding rivers where search teams once combed for answers. The music shifts into a tense, low rhythm as the visuals cut to RCMP officers in reflective vests moving through the woods with dogs, their flashlights cutting through mist. Searchers wade knee-deep into rivers, dragging poles slowly across the water. Boats sweep across the shoreline while helicopters circle above. Each image underscores the scale of the hunt, and the weight of failure. Then, the scene shifts to a reenactment of the family home that first night. Yellow police tape flutters gently outside, but the lights inside remain on. Through frosted windows, silhouettes move about, the unsettling implication that the parents slept in the very house investigators suspected might hold crucial evidence. The camera pushes slowly toward the window, as if the audience themselves are intruding on a secret. Text fades onto the screen. RCMP allowed the family to remain in the home. The words dissolve slowly, leaving behind silence. The narration resumes as visuals contrast the official stance with the grim reality. Officers are shown standing by their cruisers, clipboards in hand, while news clippings flash across the screen. No sign of stranger abduction, police say. The words echo coldly, yet the camera cuts back to the forest line, dark, endless, and indifferent. The final shots are deliberately haunting. Children's shoes placed side by side in the dirt, a swing swaying in the empty backyard, the camera pulling back until the Sullivan home looks small, fragile, and alone against the sweeping wilderness. The music falls into silence, letting the narrator's words linger. Yet, the children did not simply walk away. The following morning, Malaya claimed she awoke with Meadow in bed beside her. Around 9 a.m., the children wanted breakfast, television, and toys. She said she tidied the house. But these simple domestic details clash with other parts of the investigation. Were these memories genuine, or carefully constructed? The scene opens with a dim sunrise filtering through the Sullivan home's bedroom windows. Dust particles float in the golden light, emphasizing the quiet, almost sterile stillness of the room. Meadow lies curled up beside Malaya on the bed, the sheets rumpled, a small stuffed animal clutched in her tiny hands. The camera lingers on their faces, capturing the innocence and vulnerability of the children, before slowly panning across the bedroom. Scattered toys, half-empty cups, and clothes strewn across the floor, hinting that the house is far from the orderly morning Malaya described. The visuals shift to a reenactment of breakfast preparations. Malaya moves through the kitchen in slow motion, placing bowls and cereal on the counter. The camera captures her hands hesitating as she pours milk, a subtle suggestion of uncertainty or distraction. The children, Jack and Lily, sit at the table, fidgeting and reaching for toys instead of food. The TV flickers on in the background, casting a harsh glow across the kitchen, the sound muffled to create tension. Every movement is deliberate, creating a sense that this normal morning may not be as ordinary as it seems. Next, the camera glides through the rest of the house, showing Malaya tidying. She picks up toys, wipes counters, and folds laundry. Yet the rooms remain cluttered. A living room strewn with scattered crayons, a couch with cushions overturned, and a staircase littered with shoes. Each shot lingers longer than normal, emphasizing small inconsistencies, a stack of unwashed dishes, a half-open pantry door, crumbs on the floor. The music subtly intensifies, a low, suspenseful hum building a sense of unease. Cutaways show documents and RCMP notes overlaid on screen. Handwritten observations of the house's state, timestamps from investigators, and annotations highlighting discrepancies. The camera moves slowly over these papers, the words slightly out of focus, giving a sense of piecing together fragments of a puzzle. Occasionally, the screen splits. One side shows Malaya's account, the other shows the evidence, creating a visual tension between memory and reality. A neighbor perspective is introduced. Through a shadowed reenactment, a neighbor peers through a window across the street. They see shadows moving in the kitchen, children playing, and brief flashes of adults cleaning. Ambient sound design includes muffled laughter, footsteps, and the faint clinking of dishes. The camera lingers on the street outside, empty and quiet, reinforcing the isolation of the home and the impression of secrecy. The scene also slowly pans to the children's toys. A Barbie doll abandoned on the floor, a puzzle half-assembled, blocks scattered across the carpet. Close-ups emphasize details, a single sock lying separately, a backpack zipped but unclaimed, a pink blanket draped over a chair. Each element reinforces both the domesticity and the disorder of the morning, leaving viewers to question whether Malaya's description of tidying reflects reality or a constructed narrative. The camera returns to Malaya and Meadow. Malaya is shown briefly sitting at the table, her hands folded, her gaze unfocused. Meadow plays quietly nearby, occasionally glancing at her mother. The visuals are slowed, almost dreamlike, conveying the fragility of memory and the possibility of selective recollection. The audience is left to weigh the innocence of the moment against the evidence of chaos surrounding it. Throughout the scene, subtle audio cues heighten tension, the tick of a wall clock, the creak of floorboards, distant wind rustling through the trees outside. The TV murmurs in the background, the sound indistinct, adding an uneasy undertone. The camera moves deliberately, lingering on details that seem insignificant but collectively suggest contradiction, a spilled cup, a door ajar, shadows that do not align with natural movement. The final portion of the scene cuts between archival RCMP footage and reenactment shots, investigators walking through the rooms, marking areas of disorder, and comparing notes. Overlay graphics show timestamps, evidence logs, and annotations pointing out inconsistencies in Malaya's account. The narration echoes, were these memories genuine, or carefully constructed? The camera lingers on the empty kitchen, the table still set for breakfast, as the children's laughter is heard faintly, echoing unnervingly before fading to silence. This sequence, with slowed pacing, repeated reenactments, layered ambient sound, and investigative overlays, is designed to sustain a 22-minute runtime, keeping the audience immersed in the tension.